I look to God, and I try to talk to him, but it's hard for me to talk to him. I feel ashamed. I know he loves me, but I've done so much that it's hard for me to accept his love.
This is the best of the week on Relevant Radio.
How about George now in Texas? Good morning, George.
Hello, sir. I'm 21 years old. I had been separated from religion for a while because of what happened when I was younger with my family. My grandma, her denomination, she's a Jehovah's Witness. Recently, I've been trying to get back into religion. I'm trying to mostly just get my relationship with God right. I've never read the Bible all the way through. I just recently started. I'm trying to figure out the best way towards God because sometimes it's super hard for me. Because I believe he's there, but I can't, talk to him, you know?
Mm-hmm. Something's going on in your life, though, right now, George, isn't there?
Yeah, a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. Did you want to talk about any of that?
Just addictions, you know?
Mm-hmm. Porn, drugs, alcohol, all of the above?
Drugs and alcohol.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And you're 21. You want to do the right thing. I can hear it in your voice. You want to turn in the right direction, turn toward God, right?
Yeah.
And what happens when you try to do that?
I don't know. Every time I try to be better, there's always something that comes my way, and it's just
mm-hmm.
I started reading the Bible, and I mentioned it to my mom, and she started I guess it's just the way her mom treated her, you know.
Mm-hmm. Does she give you a hard time or put you down because you're trying to read the Bible?
She kind of does, you know. She lectures me. She tells me to make sure I'm doing what I want. And
is your mom religious at all?
She is.
Catholic or Jehovah's Witness, or what is her background?
She's not Jehovah. She was cast out from the family because of divorce, so she's not Jehovah's Witness anymore. She's more Christian now.
Good. That's good. So she herself is probably not really sure what her path should be or where she is at. So when you read the Bible and she tells you something about that, is it negative, or does she encourage you to do that?
It's a little bit of both. It's weird with her. I can never tell because she says she's glad I'm reading it, but she doesn't want me to read it because she does, or for her family. And is
she afraid, George, that maybe if you were to read the Bible unguided, that you might fall into Jehovah's Witness things, that you might be attracted in that direction, or no?
I don't think that's what it is. I think it's just mainly with her family. I think she wants me to find religion. She wants me to do it on my own terms. Okay. And it's weird because I can't talk to her about it because she doesn't want to give me an unbiased opinion. So it's just hard for me to talk to someone about God. And I try to go to churches, but the church down here I go to, I don't like. They seem like they're not genuine to me.
And what kind of churches are those that you're going to that you don't like?
I have one church down here. It's a bigger church. They have 3 or 4 different campuses across where I live.
Is it like an evangelical megachurch kind of thing?
Kind of, yeah. That's why I don't really go, because it just seems ungenuine.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is an important issue that you're bringing up, George. Let's talk for a minute if you want to. I mean, I only will ask you questions if you want to answer them.
Okay.
But, I mean, the drugs and alcohol, that's dragging you down in some way, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't live with my parents anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It started around last year when I was working out of state. I was working a really hard construction job, more than at least 12 hours a day, and there was nothing to do when I would come home, and all my coworkers, they would do drugs and they would drink after. So I got into that same habit too, and I guess I never got out of it. I fell in the pit because it just, to me, that's what was soothing after a long day of work, after coming home to no one, you know?
Mm-hmm. I can imagine what that would be like. Very lonely, right?
Yeah, and I left that job, and I came back down here to South Texas, and I've been working. I've been going to school, and it's just that everything seems fine, right? But it's just so hard to just be. I look to God, and I try to talk to Him, but it's hard for me to talk to Him. I feel ashamed. I feel like I don't.
Yeah.
I know He loves me, but I've done so much that it's hard for me to accept His love. I don't want to accept it because
you feel like what you've done is so terrible that how could God ever forgive those things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's start there. First of all, don't forget the very fact that you exist at all is because God loves you. Think about this, George. From all eternity, God has existed forever. There's never a time. We even use language that talks about time. But God has always had the idea of you in His mind from all eternity, and He created you in time 21 years ago and 9 months because He loves you. You wouldn't even be here if God didn't love you. Number one, that's how much He loves you. And number two, He died on the cross to save you from the worst possible sin you could ever commit and all the others besides. That's how much He loves you. And the hardest thing, I think, for us as human beings is to try to realize how much God loves you. Because we're not always very lovable, are we? I mean, I'm not.
No.
You're not always very lovable, are you?
No, all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So it's natural and understandable, but it's not correct for you to look at yourself and say, well, because I can't love myself the way, God may love me, therefore God can't do that. So I would suggest, number one, when you get to the section about the prodigal son, do you know that story, the prodigal son?
No.
Okay, I'm going to give you a quick recap. Luke is the gospel. You'll come to this in chapter 15. It's about a son who goes to his father and he says, Father, I want my inheritance. I want what's rightfully mine because I'm leaving. And so the father says, well, okay, that's not really what I want, but if you insist. So he gives his son his inheritance. So the son takes his check, whatever it was that his father gave him, a large sum of money, and he splits and he goes into town and he wastes his life with disgusting things. He's with prostitutes, he's getting drunk, he's getting high, he's just living a terrible life. And one day when the money's all gone, he wakes up behind the dumpster, behind, wherever it was he was living. And he says, I don't want to live this way anymore. He's got a hangover. He's shot and all the money's gone and he's so embarrassed and he says, I want to go back to the house of my father, but I know he won't accept me back. So I'll come back and ask if I could just be a servant because at least the servants have food. I'll come back and work as a servant, not as his son, because I'd rather do that than eat what the pigs are eating. That's how far he had sunk. The only food he could eat was what the pigs were eating. So what happens? He goes back to the house of the father. And Jesus, telling the story, says that the father sees his son from a great distance, which means that the father in the story is waiting for his son and looking for his son. And when he sees him from a great distance, he runs out to him and he hugs him and he kisses him and he says, later on he says this to the older brother who is perturbed by all this. And he says, my son who once was dead is now alive. He once was lost, but now he's found. And so he throws a big party in celebration for his son's return. And the reason is because he loves his son, like God the Father loves you. And he is just waiting for you to take those steps. And to the extent you are taking those steps, keep taking them. Don't be ashamed. don't feel like God can never forgive you, because that's all he wants to do, is forgive you and restore you and heal you so that you can go on to the great things that he has planned for your life.
Okay.
It's in Luke chapter 15. I would say read that story. Do you have a Catholic church near you?
I think I do. I can find one. Yes, sir.
Okay. What I would recommend is you go to the Catholic Church. You know, the Holy Eucharist is there. Jesus is there, present in the Holy Eucharist in the tabernacle. And you can sit there, maybe if you can get there in the middle of the day and there's nobody there, and you can just pray, read that Bible passage, talk to Jesus, tell him your situation. He already knows, but he wants to hear it from you. And ask him for the help that you need to move forward. So that's my first bit of advice. I'm going to give you 2 or 3 items that I would suggest to you. Okay, that's the first one.
Okay.
Have you been baptized? Were you raised Catholic? You've not been baptized?
No, I haven't been baptized. My mom believes that baptism is for when you have a relationship with God and when you know God.
Right. Okay, so here's what I'm going to give you another suggestion. If you would hang on the line, I'm going to put you in touch with a Catholic priest friend I know. He's a very good man, wise man, good priest, and he's in your general area. Okay. So if you stay on the line, then Randy will pick up with you and you can give her your contact info, and then I will put you in touch with this priest so he can give you good guidance, okay?
All right.
He'll be a father figure in your area, and you can be in touch if you want to. You don't have to, obviously, but I think it'd be a good idea.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, now the third thing I'd like to suggest is you go to a website called hopereborn.org.
Hopereborn.org?
Yes. It's a community, they're based in Florida, that helps young people get out of drug and alcohol addiction. And here's the thing. It's free. You won't have to spend any money. Your mom won't have to spend any money. If it's a good fit, and if you like it and they feel it would be a good fit for you, you can go there. And there's a commitment of time, but you'll need that time to get fully squared away, learn how to work and have friendships and be in a community and be productive, and above all else, of course, to love God and to know him. It's the Comunità Cenacolo, and that's an Italian phrase. It means the cenacle community. The cenacle is the word for the upper room where Jesus celebrated the Last Supper. So get in touch with them, tell them Patrick Madrid sent you, and just ask if they thought maybe you should go visit and see if it might be a solution for the drug and alcohol problem, because they specialize in that.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So do me a favor, George. Will you circle back to me in a few weeks, maybe a month, 2 weeks, and just kind of touch base and let me know how you're doing?
Yes, sir, of course.
Okay. Okay, I'll look forward to that, and we'll be praying for you in a particular way, George. From this point forward, you can count on that. Thank you. We appreciate you too, George. Don't hang up, okay? Randy's going to pick up with you and then get that info so I can put you in touch with this wise and virtuous priest who can help you. So stay on the line. Like what you just heard? Share it with your family and friends. And thanks for listening.